Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, instructional designers and educators. Welcome to episode 66 of the Designing with Love podcast. I'm thrilled to have Michael Toguchi, the Chief Strategy Officer at Orchestrate, with me today. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to get matched on PodMatch, and we have so much in common. So I'm really looking forward to digging in and getting started. So to start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and share what inspired you to focus on helping higher education institutions and nonprofits?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Mike Toguchi. I'm a Chief Strategy Officer at a digital company. We have a platform called Orchestrate that we've had for over 20 years in the higher ed and nonprofit space. Developed it, worked really hard on it to make it something that empowers folks, that allows them to focus on impactful work rather than manual tasks and paperwork, spreadsheets, and other things that can be frustrating to them. And from our side, our company, being a digital company, we were around when there weren't even really websites. And, it went from not having websites to trying to figure out how to make better websites to then implementing tools and processes that really affect the work, create workflows, essentially, since technology is infused and embedded in everything that all of these groups are working through. And from our end, we just saw so many organizations. We started in the Virginia, D.C. area. There are many associations, nonprofits with great missions, and universities that we were connected with, where there was just so much struggle to understand technology, to try and keep up with trends, to try and build processes. And that just wasn't really their wheelhouse. And we felt like we could take a mission that was centered around not just technology, but creative problem solving and strategy, and give folks the tools that they need for both the short term, but also kind of help them guide and create roadmaps for the long term, so that they know what's coming. And that really allowed them to focus on, whether it's a K through 12 group that is working with disabled students and needs accessibility help, whether it's a university that's running a 2 or 3 person program and they are underwater trying to provide services to students, or a nonprofit that needs help creating fundraising options so that they can get grants and do the work that they want to do. That was where our emphasis has been for the last couple of decades. Obviously, so it's always an exciting time in technology. Things are constantly shifting, tectonic shifts in the way things are going. And so that's where we're at for myself personally. Just being able to provide that level of expertise. And, as I've mentioned in other places, we don't work in just singular, one kind of project. We don't say, hey, we're just healthcare or just nonprofit or just any singular vertical. For our end, we're looking for groups that are good partners, groups that we can invest our time in to help them be impactful, and being able to see the fruits of those labors, being able to solve different kinds of problems and meet different kinds of challenges across the spectrum. Meant that, no day is going to be the same. We're not punching a clock. We're always looking at different kinds of problems for people that want to do meaningful work. And so that can be really rewarding from our end to be able to help them solve those challenges, to see their workflows work, see their efficiencies increase, and then just see them achieve their goals.
Wow, that's amazing, Michael. I love that. So you saw that there was a specific need, not just in a certain industry, but all across the board, right? So you were able to see that need and then be able to meet it so that you could help these organizations and these institutions be able to, like you said, move forward and not feel like they were getting stuck and staying stuck in that area.
And in particular for higher education, it's a place where, obviously, right now, higher ed is a bit under assault. State budgets are crunched. There are challenges with the federal government and grant programs. And even before that, there were less students matriculating. There were questions about the value of higher ed, and from our end, we saw that. We saw staff that were struggling, felt like they were under siege, frustrated faculty, and programs that were just not modernized from a technological standpoint. And that was a place where we felt like our expertise and our ability to do things in a cost-effective way for them to, rather than being frustrated trying to work within the university's confines or resources, that we could bring that external expertise that we had from other areas, working with larger companies, working with large nonprofits and large associations, that we were able to give them a piece of that and, kind of bring something special that helped them make more, sort of more bang for their buck. It's not like they get to hire more people, but it can make the people they have more efficient. It can provide, our North Star, the North Star things we usually look at are, is this a good user experience? Is it secure and is it accessible? And that user experience in particular for students and faculty, a lot of times they were using really outdated things or tools that just weren't, it was a frustrating process for them. And so that's where we can sort of modernize the technology and the process and help them.
Exactly. And then they can focus more on serving the students, right? And serving those within the organization, if it's a nonprofit or something like that. So that way they can, like you said, not have to focus so much on the technology side of things.
Well, they can claw back their time.
If
your choice is to have a meeting with a student to help them, in their educational journey, or to copy and paste stuff into a spreadsheet and try and sort it, which one is more valuable? And that's the way we look at it, is that any place that we can help people save time, create efficiencies in their own, collaborate better, not just within their team, but across campuses. It's something that we've really been proud of our work, is finding ways that people can use the data from our systems to have actionable business intelligence, and then across their departments, scale the efforts that they have. So it creates better communication across the campus, creates that better user experience for the students, and really has a force multiplier effect in terms of the way that it can give value to the university community.
So it has, like you said, that short-term effect and also long-term across the board. So that's great. I love that. Yeah, that's wonderful. So you've worked with organizations ranging from universities to major companies like Google and PG&E. What are some common challenges you see when it comes to managing complex processes, like we talked about scholarships, grants, or admissions, and how does Orchestrate help simplify those challenges?
Well, from a challenge standpoint, it is, they do all have some common threads or connective tissue. One, people can be adverse to change, like they have a system in place and they just want to keep using what's there, even if it's not really a successful one. There can be there can be tribal knowledge where groups, there's silos of communication, silos of information, and you have to break those things down. I think a lot of times the creative part of the problem solving, to say let's actually, let's whiteboard this out. How does your marketing team work with the fundraising and development team in order to ensure that communications to small and large donors are effective or targeted? And sometimes finding those integration points within a team is something that can be challenging at a large or even a small organization where you would think everybody, there's only a couple of voices there, but sometimes people have their own lanes and it's hard to get them out of it.
Yeah.
But really, from our end, it's a matter of trying to break things down to a foundational level, find the commonalities of, there are certain elements of any workflow for any process. It doesn't matter if you're talking about a scholarship for a student, an accommodation for a student with a disability, a foundation grant that you're applying for. And, the list goes on and on of the different kinds of applications that Orchestrate can manage. But we're always looking at it from the workflow standpoint of efficiency and commonality. And then we're looking at it from each user standpoint, almost the storytelling version of what does this look like from the user's perspective? Is this something that's simple for them to do? Do you have reminders to let them know there's something that's outstanding? Do you have integrated messaging to ensure that you have communication with them? And that, Joe from that side of the desk goes on vacation, is all the communication with one student just stuck in his email, or is it in a platform where there's an audit trail and somebody else can pick up things? And so we're always looking at both individual functionalities down at that granular level, but really saying who's the student here or the applicant? Who's the faculty reviewer? Who is the administrative person that has to, manage all the pieces of this puzzle and disperse them? So really kind of going into those individual user stories and understanding how any technology can affect their day-to-day operations and work, and then put all those pieces together so that you have one, sort of finely tuned machine that's working.
Wow. I love that. That made me think of what I do with the curriculum design and development department. We have a department of 75 individuals that consists of curriculum developers, instructional designers, editors. We also have managers that manage. And so what they do is they have each of the colleges within the university that we help manage. So I'm part of humanities and social sciences. And then we have another management team that's part of engineering and technology. But each college kind of works in silos, and sometimes we do have things that are standardized across the board, but it's sometimes difficult when you have different colleges that have different wants and needs. So that's interesting. That
we've worked within, there are different systems of colleges and universities that are connected, but they have different different platforms. They have different ways of solving problems. They have different ways of collecting data. They don't standardize the data. And then when leadership or board of governors or a state legislator wants some information, it's like chaos of trying to collect all of it and normalize it so that they can view it. And so, we're also looking at those kinds of things, like what are the regulatory and compliance issues? Like what do you need in order to make sure that you can get more funding and keep the lights, keep the lights on your side. But really, I'd mentioned earlier, we want people to have actionable business intelligence. If you don't have the data and you can't say, oh, well, when a student comes in, it seems like it's taking us, 3 or 4 days to finish their request. Why is that? Where's the block in the process? How can we help them? But to your note and point about design, that's a bit of what we look at and say, there's plenty of stuff that's off the shelf that you can just kind of shrink wrap and you get what you get. And then there are people that will build something from scratch, which is fine, but then you end up with something that's almost so unique and hard to support and can bring on technical debt. You need something that sort of is in that middle lane where you do get a little bit of that whiteboarding and design principle. Take a solid foundation, platform architecture, and be able to work within it and say, okay, well, our review cycle for, an application is one level of the selection committee and then a second level of vetting, and this is our scoring. And we'll work with groups not only to make sure, we can wrap our software around their process, but then also to help them make sure that process is sound. Has it just always been this way that you have, 90 different people scoring something? Is there a more efficient way to do that? And so really try and act like a true partner for them, evaluating each step of the way, creating a strategy and creating that roadmap.
Right. Yeah. Because if you have, like you said, those processes, or you have a system that is bogging people down, then that's hard, because then you get that frustration from individuals in different teams, right? Where they feel like they're being the process is actually hindering them and not helping them, and not giving them what they need to help students or help others, right? So yeah, and
that is one of the other common challenges, is you have to have someone that is a champion. If you're going to have someone externally, kind of help you create a new solution and enforce change, change management and change in an organization, particularly in higher ed, not always the easiest thing. People can get set in their ways. You have to have people, whether it's, a dean from up high or so just someone who is owning the project, to make sure that they're communicating well, stating here are our goals. This is why we're doing it. This is how it's going to make your life better or easier, even if there's some transition work that needs to be done. And so we always try and make sure they're, we're communicating where we're hoping, we can bring value to somebody's lives, and hope there's somebody on the other end that's doing the same.
That's so important, right? And to get all those different individuals involved that can be able, like you said, to have that champion as part of that, because then what you probably find is that there's no clear direction, and then people are just scrambling and lost, and they're wondering, why are we doing this? What is the purpose behind it?
And again, in fairness to like, we all think kind of from a not selfish but self-centered way, like, okay, well, what does this mean for me? Like, does this mean I have to learn something new? Do I have to change the way I do this? Like, what's the disruption level? But that's where it's important to get stakeholder buy-in. It doesn't mean you have a million cooks in the kitchen, but you get people's buy-in and explain, clearly why you're doing things, and help them understand the strategy and how, what the end product is going to look like, so that there are those, hey, you're going to get back, 20% of your day, that instead of working late, maybe you're leaving early.
Exactly. And that can be a big buy-in for a lot of employees and staff,
exactly.
Being able to, have that buy-in. Absolutely. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of this internal system. We have a lot of internal systems where I work, and we and tailor them to what is needed, and it helps save money. But I agree with you that sometimes that can be a hindrance. And there's an example of this particular type of software where we're trying to build in instances where students can have a experience where we can embed videos, and we can embed content and things like that, and make it more of a experiential type of process for students. But then what ended up happening is they didn't consult editors, they didn't consult instructional designers. So we're all just going, wait a minute, you're rolling out this, and curriculum developers, they do have instances where they go to meetings and they consult with subject matter experts to try to make sure that the curriculum is at its best. But at the same time, some of them don't know higher education, and they don't know adult learning. So it's a challenge. And so we're trying to kind of get it back to where we're able to do that, and able to make sure that it meets the needs of students. So it's interesting.
Getting all those pieces of the puzzle, kind of flowing together in the right direction at the right cadence and time. It's a huge challenge, just making sure that everybody understands, the nature of the change. There's good training, good documentation.
Right, exactly. And I love your philosophy that technology should enable people, not burden them. That's a wonderful philosophy to have. So how do you keep that principle front and center when making product decisions or building partnerships?
That's we try and be as direct and honest with folks as possible. At the end of the day, we're creating something for them. And so what I was mentioning earlier, like, we're going to ask those questions like, hey, you said you wanted this kind of application flow, or you want this kind of review process, or this kind of acceptance for, again, any kind of application. Or any kind of workflow. It doesn't, we build many things in higher ed that aren't really an application. It could be a form. It could be something where there's some internal process to be fundraising. But we're going to ask folks, why do you need this, or why do you want this? Like, what business goal or objective is this accomplishing? How is this helping you, your team? Is this adding more time? Is it saving time? Like, what value or benefit is it bringing to the student or the audience? And really kind of tackling those questions as we're creating and designing something, to ensure that a lot of times people will say like, oh, well, hey, we hired a new person or a new group in order to put something in place. And what they really want is just somebody new to do the old thing again. And it's really like the software version of lipstick on a pig type situation, where it is like, you've just taken some old, not efficient process and put new software around the same old stuff. And so for us, when we come in, if a group has or an institution has hired us, we're often coming in saying like, we want to be accountable to what we promised you we would do. And that's ensuring that the staff that you have gets the most out of what we've created for you, and that they understand, why we've built something or developed it, what the vision is for it, that roadmap where we say like, what does this look like over 2 terms or 2 semesters? Like, what will it look like in year 2 or year 3? And what benefits are we, what's the ROI on it? What do we want to see? Do we want to see an increase in applications? Do we want to see a decrease in time to provide a service to a student? Do we want to see an increase in funds for something? And so we're really trying to tie some of those business objectives to the choices that are made in the design of the solution, and bringing it back to them, like say like, hey, if you choose this, that's fine. Like we're not going to tell you how to do this. We could tell you what we recommend or what we think is best based on a couple decades of experience and a couple thousand implementations. But if you see this and you want this, then that, you do that. But from our end, we're always going to be saying, again, are we saving you time? Are we making this better for you? Or are we just kind of doing the same thing? And so that's how we stay true to those ideas. Again, is it good for the user experience? Does it increase or maintain your security level? Is it accessible for all types of audiences? And then again, make those solutions as creative and strong and diverse as possible.
Right. I like that. Yeah, because you're really looking for that sustained partnership with those individuals that you're working with, and not just a one-time type of experience, right? You're trying to make sure that it's sustained over that long term.
And that actually makes it nice because it feels less like selling someone and more like offering to join with them to try and help them accomplish something. There are a million technology companies that can offer you a platform and implement it and then go, and just anybody can do that. If you want to bring expertise that's specific about a particular kind of group, like a university, a particular audience, like students or faculty or staff, and say, hey, this is a way we can really, if you are, again, we work with a lot of centers that serve disabled students, and say, you have limited resources. Your case managers are always kind of overwhelmed as accommodation requests increase. Like, how can we create a workflow that helps you process those quicker? Or if you're working with an admissions program and you have thousands of folks and you're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how do we don't have enough staff to score all of these. How can we create a solution that's better for that? So yeah, we're really trying to join them on a journey towards that business objective and ROI, and be somebody that's there at varying levels. Like, there are plenty of universities we work with where they implement something and we kind of show up at very targeted strategic times. And there are other folks that we work with on a much more daily tactical basis. And so we like to have the flexibility and offer that flexibility to these groups that we partner with and help them kind of scale things. It's many groups start out with maybe one fellowship program, and then suddenly, like, there are other fellowships on campus that want to join with them. And so they get to leverage what we've done. It saves the university time and money. They already have an approved vendor that they're working with. It, again, increases that collaboration. And so, we really enjoy the lane that we occupy in terms of finding groups to.
I love that. And I love, Michael, how it's not a one-size-fits-all approach for every institution or every organization that you work with. You really tailor your products and services to that individual, and you really do a needs assessment, it sounds like, and you try to find out what are your needs, what are your wants, and how can we help you get there, right?
Yeah, that's always the goal. The goal is to do a very intentional, in-depth discovery and strategic planning with any organization. It doesn't always work out exactly that way. Sometimes you have it's a fire drill. I need this before, fall. We had plenty of those this year. It's, we've got 3 weeks until the term launches. Can you put something in place? So it doesn't always work out exactly process wise. But yeah, I mean, we wanted to find that place where we had something to offer that you don't have to do it from scratch. It's not reinventing the wheel every time. We leverage something that's there, but we wanted that ability to say, like, we know the 3-person nonprofit versus the, conglomerate Fortune 50 group versus even amongst like higher ed and K through 12, like you have some groups that have tons of money and resources and time, and you have others that are, more strapped or more stressed on those things. And so we want to be able to find those places where we're going to be a good fit and provide a benefit. And again, finding places to do those cool problem solving, like that's one of the things we're looking at.
I love that. That's great. Wonderful. So as we wrap up, what are your top tips or advice for listeners who are looking to transition into higher education, maybe even nonprofit too, or just starting out in the field? Hello, I have some exciting news to share with all of my listeners. There is a feature called Fan Mail. What this allows you to do is send me a text message anytime during the episode. There's a link located at the top of the description in each episode, and it says send Jackie a text message. So when you click on that link, you'll be able to send me a message letting me know what you thought about the episode and if you have any ideas for future episode content as well. I look forward to seeing your text messages. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we're here talking about technology. We haven't quite mentioned AI yet. I certainly would say that's something that is really, I mean, as we all know, it's disrupting every single space. But in particular, in higher ed, you have students who are using it at, I believe, around a 90% clip in their personal and school lives. You have faculty that are having to redo curriculum, and they're figuring out, can I use tools to detect this? Should I give up on that and find some other way to, should I embrace it? You have beleaguered staff that are feel like they might be replaced by it, and so I say all that to say I would encourage anybody to be reading and learning as much as you can about LLMs and generative AI and agentic AI and things like that, because it's on our end, we're looking at ways to incorporate that into our platform and into folks' workflows, so that you look at universities that have you might want to be an admissions officer. Well, an admissions application now should have a chatbot that's helping prompt and get people, dragging them further through the process on the easy stuff. Or if you're providing support services for students, if you're not experimenting with something to help reduce, again, ticket level or, the sort of initial inquiries or gates that students have to go through, you're spending time that maybe other folks are not. And so that would just be one note for everyone, maybe the most obvious one, that the workforce, the professional workforce in particular, and the academic one as well, there's so much going on with AI right now. If you're looking to jump into that space, I think having background on how that can, how AI can be utilized in whatever job you're looking for, and having some, even if it's just your own training, that I think would be immensely valuable. I don't think I would hire someone that came knowing nothing about, how some of those tools would be utilized.
That's great advice. I love that. Yeah.
A second thing, again, from our end, we do work with K through 12. We do work with nonprofits of all sizes, and we do work with higher ed. In terms of looking at the different places, I would say find your area, be great at it, try and be amazing at one particular thing, but then also make sure you've diversified yourself. For example, if you want to go into fundraising, you want to be a major grants officer, that's great. But it does not hurt to have a background in other things, whether it's writing, whether it's operations or other areas where some of these groups appear, at least from my end. And I'm sure our company and other companies they're looking to find more efficiencies. Their hiring is lower than it has been because people are trying to keep a lid on things. And so if you have a diversified portfolio of skills, I would be looking at where you can provide value to an organization, sort of in like a sports analogy, someone who can play multiple positions.
Right.
But I still think, being great at your one thing and then having that diversification, that's striking the balance there. That's another area I would say is important. Again, I'm thinking about interviews that we do, where I'm looking for somebody that looks like they, have the eye of the tiger and they want to be the best at something, but they also know that they're able to hop in and help other teammates. So
Yeah,
those are,
that's great. I love that. Yeah, being able to diversify yourself and have those different areas where you can be an expert. Yeah.
I guess the last part, and, sort of tying those two elements together, I think higher ed is constantly, it's really changing. I don't know. I mean, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old. I don't know the college that I went to in the 90s is going to look like their college in 10 years, 12 years. And so I say that in terms of like, it's not a linear career path. It's not like you start as an administrative assistant and get promoted to research associate, and then you become, and there's like a very straight ladder that you go and then you retire. I don't think anyone's career works that way anymore. And in particular in higher ed, there is just a lot of lateral hopping around from department to department. And that to me gets to, knowing the newest technologies and AI and how it applies in the workforce, and being diversified and understanding, how you can move around in case there's a shift in, where your skills are needed. So
that's great. I love that, Michael. That's so important, being able to have those tips in hand. Yeah, something, with AI, we're utilizing it where I work and also within the institution too. So navigating that, and now they have clear guidelines, which is great. So it's helpful when you know what you're looking at and how to be able to utilize it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's something across higher ed, like the people are struggling and just trying to catch up on providing guidance and guidelines for students on how and what, where do they need to source things? Like, what can you use it for from a faculty standpoint? Should you be flagging things if it's been written by a chat GPT, or, we could spend, 2 to 3 hours just kind of going through some of that stuff. And, yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. And the university is, they don't want faculty policing it, but they want it to be a collaborative type of approach where if they see a concern, then talk to the student about it, right? And find out what do you know, and try to inquire with them and see, where did you get that information? Not even necessarily like that, but just, can you tell me a little bit more about that? And really inquire and find out a little bit more from them, and do it in that manner instead of policing
and
it.
I think a lot of the universities that are embracing it, they are going to find a way they are going to be ahead of the game on things. The students are looking at it saying, like, everyone's job appears to be, like, they are smart. They understand that jobs are, in AI and related to AI are going to be much more plentiful than those that are not. And so they look at a university and say, if you don't have an articulated policy, if you don't have training for students to learn how to use it, if your faculty are not experimenting and your staff do not create efficiencies using it, why should we be your customer? I mean, again, I don't like to think of it in those terms. The university is a benevolent environment for learning. But at the end of the day, a lot of folks are going there in order to learn so they can have a successful career. And so if the university, environment is not embracing it, AI, then the student is going to look elsewhere and find someone that is.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. And a good example of that is recently our instructional design program at the university was revised, and we have specific competencies that have AI technology in there. And I just finished teaching one of the classes in the program, and it has AI technology built into it. So it's really great to see that we're allowing students to be able to look at those opportunities and see, where in my career can I utilize it, and where can it help me in that future work that I'm going to do in that area. So it's really great to see that the university is embracing it, and they're looking at it as an opportunity to enrich their experience and not hinder it. So that's great. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. So is there anything else you wanted to mention, Michael, as we wrap up that you can think of?
No, just that if there are, if there's anyone out there in K through 12 or nonprofit or higher ed space that's interested in, talking to us about what we do, strategy, consulting, application platforms, workflow, anything along those lines, our team does that. We're a fully integrated, company that also has an MSP, and we do marketing and branding. So anything in that digital space, we really tackle. And so I don't know if my email will be on this or something like that. You can always reach out to me. Would love to chat, and even if it's just to meet and connect and learn about what your needs are.
Great. I love that. That's wonderful. And it sounds like, we have a lot in common because my undergraduate degree is in marketing, and then I got an MBA, and then I went to school and got my instructional design degree. So I have that kind of that business education background. So it's kind of interesting.
I think it's one of the best intersections, have some liberal arts plus some business sense and everything good in between. So.
Right. Exactly. And like you said before, that way you can harness those expertise and those skills in some different areas. Like you said, focus on what you're really good at, but then have some other areas where you can really shine. And I think that's important. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your insights today. I know your experiences, tips, and expertise are sure to inspire my listeners. So I appreciate it. And I look forward to having you back on the show sometime, and maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into AI and some of that. I love that. Great. Thank you so much. Jackie. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to help keep the podcast going, you can share it with a friend or colleague, leave a heartfelt review, or offer a monetary contribution. Every act of support, big or small, makes a difference, and I'm truly thankful for you.